Welcome to the Doo-Doo Divas Smells Like Money podcast. I'm your host, Suzan Chin-Taylor, CEO and founder of Creative Raven, the firm that helps wastewater industry contractors and manufacturers unlock the power of digital marketing, AI, and PR to boost sales and opportunities. Whether it's through our online marketing and lead generation programs or providing a fully outsourced marketing department, we are passionate about helping businesses in the wastewater and civil infrastructure sectors not just survive, but thrive in today's digital world. Each episode, I'll be bringing you expert tips and strategies to help you grow and succeed. Let's dive in. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Doo-Doo Divas Smells Like Money podcast. We're continuing our visit with Dr. Marissa Jablonski, and today we're going to be doing a deep dive into her work with the Freshwater Collaborative of Wisconsin. And this is a fascinating program. I'm not going to do any spoilers here because I want her to really tell the story behind this initiative, because I saw it as something that any state, any province, really anywhere in the world could apply the principles and establish their own version of this program for meeting their water challenges. And so with that, welcome back, Dr. Marissa.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here. So I'll give you a quick overview of what the Freshwater Collaborative is and how it began. So the Freshwater Collaborative is an initiative across the universities of Wisconsin. We have 13 universities in the state of Wisconsin and 23 campuses. And each one of those universities was fighting for resources, for money, really, to study and educate on water. So we have about 15,000 lakes in Wisconsin and the Great Mississippi River. We're bordered by 2 Great Lakes. And then, that's not to mention the aquifers and the amazing groundwater that we have. So the universities all vary. We've got, of the 13, we've got UW-La Crosse right on the Mississippi River. We've got UW-Superior right on Lake Superior. We've got UW-Green Bay on the Bay, which is a part of Lake Michigan. UW-Milwaukee and Parkside on Lake Michigan as well. Oshkosh is close on the Fox River. And that's just the outside ones, right? Then we've got about 8 or 9 more just in the inside of Wisconsin. And when we started thinking, right, we looked around and said, well, we're all educating our students on water, and we're all trying to get money from the state of Wisconsin to have more water programs. So what can we do? So the Freshwater Collaborative was created, and I was hired as the executive director, and we leveraged some Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation funds in order to leverage the state funds we receive now. So we get $5 million from the Wisconsin State Legislature every 2 years. We asked for $27 million a year. We got 2.5 a year. And with that, we do big things. And I always like to plug that with more, we can do more. So if any legislators are listening and thinking, what can we support? Please continue to support the Freshwater Collaborative, because we're doing big things. So with that $5 million every 2 years, what we do is support workforce development in the water sector. So when you think about the water pipeline, you can think recruitment, making sure that K through 12 students know that water is a career field and it is a pathway to a job. So they might study biology, they might study engineering, they might study chemistry, they might study environmental sciences. There's a lot of pathways, limnology, so many pathways. So making sure that K through 12 students know through hands-on learning. So we support summer camps and teacher trainings so that their students know where to turn to when they're interested in having a water career. So that's recruitment. The next is retention. The best way to get undergraduate students to stay undergraduate students in water, hands-on learning. So we support about 30 courses across Wisconsin that have fieldwork experiences and lab work components that all touch on agricultural water management as a groundwater challenge and drinking water and emerging contaminants as a water challenge. So when you think about PFAS or lead pipes or phosphorus contamination in people's aquifers, that kind of thing. So those fieldwork experiences and those lab work experiences for undergrads are really tackling groundwater challenges. And then the third piece is the placement in internships and jobs. So we've helped a handful of companies across Wisconsin get the internships that they need to fill out their workforce in the summer. And what we've found is often those internships lead to jobs. So we are almost like a hub in Wisconsin. If someone's interested in knowing, well, what are the universities doing when it comes to water studies, water education, water research? Instead of doing research at 13 different university websites, they can reach out to the Freshwater Collaborative and get an answer within a few hours. So that's the niche that we fill. And I'm proud of us. We've been around for about 5.5 years, and we've given away millions and millions and millions of dollars. We've invested across the universities to expand programs, and we've engaged with almost 1,500 students, which is it's incredible. And we have a couple of anecdotal things that are pretty cute. We've had a couple students from Minnesota, Illinois, Iowa come to our programs and later transfer to Wisconsin schools. So we're working now on a marketing campaign to make sure that everybody in the nation knows that Wisconsin is the place to study water, not just because of our water systems, but because of our university system.
Wow. And, it's such a testament to, a great idea like that taking off, and that, Wisconsin is the place to study water. But for other states that want to really shore up their water professionals in their state, everybody needs to. I just, like, off the top of my head, I'm just thinking, you did this with the University of Wisconsin. I think of the giant UC system in California as to big engineering departments. That they're doing tremendous work in engineering on some of those campuses. That I think of what I'd like you to share, without giving too many secrets away, but maybe you can. That if anybody listening to this, maybe it's a water community person that knows people at the university level, says, "Hey, I just heard this podcast. We need to think about how do we do this? How can an organization who may want to start setting up something similar to what you did, how do they start, and what are the things that they need to know that they might be facing as challenges going in?"
So I believe this is why I was hired as the executive director, because of my consulting experience. And every single time I start a project, the first thing is, who are the stakeholders and what are they doing already? Let's not step on anybody's toes. Let's get together and let's have a conversation. So we started speaking with faculty, staff, provosts, and chancellors at the 13 universities. We started speaking with their corporate partners, with their government agency partners, with tribal nations, and with community partners to understand where the gaps are in sharing information about water education and water research across Wisconsin. So that would be step number one, is just doing an inventory of who's who and who's doing what. We still, when you ask the question, what are the things people shouldn't do? We still to this day run into fear of competition and territories. So there are often people who will say, well, that's our partner. If they work with you, if they partner with you, they may leave us. And I think
Okay.
offering some kind of assurance that this isn't a competition, the word collaborative is in the name for a reason. We're not trying to take resources, specifically money. We're not trying to take, what do you call it? Relationships away from anybody. What we're trying to do is grow. One example I just used during a meeting today is the Wisconsin DNR often goes to UW-Stevens Point for their interns, and those internships can lead to jobs. Well, what if the DNR has 20 positions and Stevens Point only can fill 15? Then we want to be the resource for the DNR to fill the remaining 5. That's how we can all fit together, right? When Jacob's
that makes a lot of sense, is that it's almost like a village mentality that I share with you, you share with me. Like, let's not compete, in that instead of being each of these, stand alone, we're stronger if we pool all of our collective resources.
Exactly.
Especially what you're saying about funding, is that not that you're going to take funding away, but if we pool, if I have some funding and you have some funding, and we have a project, and neither one of us has enough solely to really do the thing we want, why shouldn't we come together and combine forces and do that thing together? It just makes perfect sense.
Exactly. So one example that happened during the Biden administration, the Wisconsin DNR the DNR, Department of Natural Resources, gave Jacobs Engineering a grant to do a lead pipe inventory across the state of Wisconsin. And, that was all during the infrastructure bill. And I believe some of it remains during the Trump administration. However, this project ended in Wisconsin now. But anyway, so the DNR got some funds. They were able to distribute to Jacobs Engineering. Jacobs called us because in almost a panic. They went through UW Oshkosh. UW Oshkosh said, just go right to the Freshwater Collaborative. And they were almost in a panic. They said, we need 30 interns in 30 days, and they have to be across the state of Wisconsin. We have no idea what to do. And we said, oh, let's have a quick webinar in about a week. Can you put together some slides? We'll check them over, make sure they answer any questions a student would have. We got them their 30 interns in 15 days.
Wow.
And we created these internships at the 13 universities because they needed somebody up in Superior, down in Milwaukee, and across, in Menominee, Wisconsin, everywhere in between. So that's how we can assist. And I tell companies all the time, use us. I tell legislators, use us. If you need information about water education and water research about anything water in the state of Wisconsin, we're already showing up to work every day. You might as well give us a call or send us an email on our website, freshwater.wisconsin.edu, and ask, right? We get questions about the data centers. We get questions about PFAS contamination, PFAS testing. We're hosting a really cool academia meets industry panel in central Wisconsin at UW-Stevens Point in this coming April, right before the Lakes and Rivers Association meeting, because people want to know what is industry doing and what kind of research is happening in academia at the universities. So we're trying to be a resource to groups and to people and to the government so that the future is brighter, so the future is cleaner, so that we understand, right? The data centers, we just spoke with Current out of Chicago. We host a webinar, and Elena Harkness, president of Current, was our speaker. And she said, look, the data centers are coming anyway. We might as well make sure that they're eco-friendly.
That makes perfect sense. And it's just, when you talk about this model, is that you have all this young talent, you have all these resources, and it seems like if a state were to develop, or a university system goes ahead and develops something similar to what you've done there, I just think of all the different problems and challenges that the industry can resolve in one fell swoop. It just ticks. That's when I started, talking to you about this, I said, man, this one principle or this one concept just ticks off the boxes for so many different areas that we're all concerned with in the industry. And it feels like it's not gonna be affected by it. It almost seems by collaborating and having all these entities coming together, if one gets affected by some type of legislation or a funding cut, the others can support it and shore it up. And so it's almost like you're helping yourself ensure your own continuity.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And we interviewed a lot of industries across Wisconsin as the Freshwater Collaborative was getting started and asked the question, who do you want to hire? I mean, down to steel industries. And everyone agreed we want to hire people who understand water and who understand climate change and who understand how those systems, those environmental systems, affect our business moving forward. None of us can deny that extreme weather events are affecting transportation, manufacturing, are affecting everyday life. So tariffs, all of these like socio-political, environmental issues are affecting us all. So I completely agree. The universities can use that to enhance continuity in business, full stop.
Yeah, I just everything about this, I really, it's amazing. It's amazing what you've been able to do. And how long did it take you to get this started before you actually, began to make an impact with some of these big things that you are doing right now?
That's a great question. Well, when we first got started, we got our first $5 million just over 4 years ago, 4.5 or so. And I remember going to the 13 universities and saying, how best do we split this up? Because it's not fair to give everybody the same amount. Some of the universities are very small, some are very big, some have no capacity. Well, some have very little capacity to collaborate. Some have a ton of capacity. It's all different. Each one is run completely different than the other. They have autonomy. Excuse me. And the answer that I received back was, well, give us all the money. And so I had to laugh and say, okay, this is very apparent that we don't even know how to collaborate. We're so siloed. And so what we did was start a grant process, and we put out an RFP. We could invest the money back to any university. So we had some universities, well, the 13 are all collaborating with different government agency groups like USGS and DNR and NIH and NSF. And then we also have collaborations with corporations like Trout Unlimited, Ducks Unlimited, Jacobs, other groups. And so we said we will only be able to give money to the universities. We can't fund, Trouts Unlimited. But they started writing these grants, and that's where everybody shined. I think there was a little bit fear in the beginning and they didn't want to compete for it. But as soon as they wrote it down on paper and said, I have an idea, here's our idea, then we came back and said, this is a terrific idea. You have to collaborate with at least one other university, one company, one agency. All of a sudden it went, whoa. And we just released our third set of funds in the third legislative biennial budget. And now we have the 13 universities collaborating. What's a good example? UW-Madison is probably the most well-known of the 13 universities across the nation. They bring in undergraduate research students every summer, approximately 30 to 40, some coming from Yale and Harvard. And then they place them at universities all over Wisconsin. So they come to Madison, but they may end up at a summer program in Oshkosh or at Stevens Point or at Milwaukee. Some stay at Madison, yes, of course. But we've watched these students move around the nation. And the dream is that in 10 years, we will have graduates of these programs calling each other from all around the world, right? We'll have somebody in
Fantastic.
China, we'll have somebody in South Africa, we'll have somebody in Ghana, somebody in California, somebody in New York, somebody in Wisconsin. And they call each other to say, hey, we're struggling with rainwater catchment. What do you do? Hey, we're working on desalination. What do you do? And all of a sudden, everybody knows each other. We make the water profession a small world. That's what we're trying to do.
And hats off to you.
Yeah.
Kudos, because I think that this model is really the way to go. It's that collaboration for the good. And I think by doing it this way, it's going to get many more people excited about this industry. And I'm sure they're going to be telling their friends, like, I do this and it's great fun. You should think about it too. And that's how it works. And that's really how it works. Well, I just salute to you. Those who, I'm giving her the salute here for those who are you just listening, that I think this is absolutely one of the most ingenious and wonderful things that I've heard that's being done in the industry. And it's a model. And I hope anybody who's listening is really thinking about this and, wow, we should maybe think about doing something like this ourselves.
Thank you so much.
In some way, because it's like we said earlier, it ticks a lot of boxes and solves a lot of problems. And it's just the whole spirit. I think the whole spirit behind it is so beautiful and so refreshing, because it isn't an us, them. And that's what we have to get. It's not us and them. It's we.
Right.
Because we all need the water. We can't live without it.
We absolutely. And I can't take credit for the idea. Of course, I'm the first executive director that was hired. There are some brilliant minds in Wisconsin who said, I'm sick of competing for resources. We're going to collaborate. And they truly did. People from like Dr. Val Klump at the University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, him and his team traveled around Wisconsin to each of the 13 universities, getting everybody on the same page and asking the question, if we did this, what would you want? And getting honest answers, which changed everything. And well, a lot politically has happened. I mean, this was all pre-COVID.
Right.
But I completely agree. I mean, we see this as a model that could be replicated not just in the Midwest, but all across the nation and the world. There's no reason it can't be.
I agree. Well, Dr. Marissa, thank you so much for sharing the story of this. Listeners, thank you for tuning in. Hope this has sparked something in your minds, that you can carry the torch and, help spread the word about this, because we both agree, the two of us, this is a phenomenal industry to be involved. And we just want to shout it from the rooftops that, come join us in the fun, right?
That's right.
Thank you again. And, state again for us, please, for our show notes here, how can they learn more about the initiative? Because I know it's kind of an unusual way that your website is set up. What is that again?
The Freshwater Collaborative of Wisconsin. You can reach us on our website at freshwater.wisconsin.edu.
All right. Well, thank you again for sharing your time with us. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in. And until next time, keep it flowing. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. If you're ready to take your marketing to the next level and start increasing sales and opportunities for your business, reach out to us at Creative Raven. We're here to help you thrive in the digital landscape. Visit creativeraven.com or click the link in the show notes below to schedule a call and learn how we can support your growth. If you enjoyed the insights on today's episode, be sure to hit subscribe so you'll never miss an update. Until next time, keep growing and keep it flowing.